How will the midterms shape up in November? A new Trafalgar poll still shows Republicans taking back control of the House despite conflicting reports in the media. Joining us now to discuss it and set it straight is Robert Cahaly, the Trafalgar Group pollster. Robert, good to see you. So what's your take? How many seats are Republicans going to win the House by in November? And do Republicans still have a shot at taking the Senate?
Thanks for having me. Yes, right now, what you're seeing is, we have all these polls that come out and everybody starts believing them, but we need to look, some of these guys, look at what their records are the last few years. A lot of these university and media polls, they clearly have an intent there. So what you need to do is look for the polls that are a little more honest and have a better reputation. And what we're seeing is there's still an advantage. And remember, even if it was just a few points, these things are by district. This is not a national popular vote for the House. So I still think that what we're looking at is probably a House pickup of well over 10 seats. Now the Senate is a little more competitive, but I wouldn't be so quick to poo-poo the chances in the Senate. I see a lot of that happening, and we're not even to Labor Day yet. I mean, this is kind of what happens in D.C. There's all these parlor games and people putting out polls, but we tend to see things kind of straighten back out when people are paying attention. I mean, first example, you look in Pennsylvania, for all intents and purposes, Fetterman with this sickness was, kind of in a cocoon. Nobody was allowed to hit him. It was distasteful. Well, while they've been hitting all over Oz. I mean, the fact that Oz is only back a few points tells me that now that when it starts being a fair fight, that is a very competitive race. I know that Oz has appeal way beyond just Republicans. He's built quite an audience in that TV show. So I think that was more competitive than people think. I think what we've seen in Ohio is there's a couple polls that are more credible that have J.D. Vance leading in Ohio. I don't really think Ohio is even a swing state anymore. I think they've proven that a few cycles in a row. And we look at Nevada. Nevada looks like a pickup at this point, and Arizona. We just put out Arizona today, and Arizona, he's a few points back, but Arizona, there's a lot to happen between now and the election. And there's a lot of funding issues, and there's a lot more people coming across the border. And there are major issues that are going to affect all these races. But the one thing that is going to be most determinative is this is an election about Biden. They can hide it. They can act like it's not there. I've compared it to a house full of termites. Everything looks fine, and maybe nobody's talking about it. Before it's all said and done, it's going to be the only thing that matters. And so when you're running with Biden, the voters are looking at a big red button that says stop the Biden agenda and a blue button that says continue it. And I think voters are going to press that red button.
Well, Robert, we're in August. There's a lot of people who are just getting their kids back to school. They're just coming off of vacation, right? People aren't focused on elections quite yet. Yeah, they're focused on gas prices and food prices. So are you saying that when people actually get into September and October and they start focusing on the issues that matter to them, they can't vote against Joe Biden in November, but they can vote against the party of Joe Biden, and you're going to see these polls actually trend a little more Republican?
Yeah, I think they're going to be sending a message. I mean, we'll see what happens with food prices. We'll see what happens with fuel prices. And, gosh forbid we have an early freeze and people start filling up those heating oil tanks, because they're going to really get a shock. But it's not going to be this panacea that everybody thinks it's going to be, and things are going to continue to break their direction. I think that the cost of what they've done, what the Biden administration has done, is going to catch up with them. And this college tuition thing is uniquely unpopular. And, not to mention the IRS. I mean, when people hear that, hey, they're hiring 87,000 more government agents, everybody thinks, hey, they're sending in some heroes, some more Border Patrol agents, more policemen. But no, they actually hired a bunch more vampires.
Yeah, so Robert, I think I'm going back 4 months in the generic polling. I think this was Fox News polling. They had Republicans up by 7 on the generic ballot, no name on the ballot, just Republican or Democrat. The most recent polling has it even 50-50. And I wonder if that has to do with the Dobbs decision on abortion rights. Is that the decision that's impacting voters? What's driving this shift from Republican now to Democrat?
Well, there's a couple of things that have certainly impacted it. Certainly the Supreme Court ruling is impacted, but what impacted it more than the Supreme Court ruling on the abortion issue was some of the immediate reaction of some of the Republican states to go much further. I mean, you know, we've polled this nationally and in many, many states. When you're talking about fetal pain, heartbeat, or something like that, and rape, incest, and life of the mother, you're at 50, 60% of the voters. When you start tightening up beyond that, you start losing that working majority. And, you know, winning elections is important, and people need to keep that in mind. This is probably not the time to be focused on doing that.
You know, Robert, I think Democrats are running ads against Republicans right now. Republicans have to push back, hit back, talk about the extremism with the Democrats. Robert Cahaly, thanks for joining me.